Alexander O'Neal was one of the breakout R&B stars in the mid-1980s. O'Neal burst into the scene with hits like Innocent, If You Were Here Tonight, Fake, and Criticized. His star ascended even higher after a pair of duets with Cherrelle, Saturday Love, and Never Knew Love Like This. While O'Neal seemingly came out of nowhere to become an instant star, he'd actually been grinding to make his mark in the music business for years. After starting out working with various local groups in Minneapolis, O'Neal joined a group headed by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. That group would come to the attention of Prince, who wanted to hire them to be his opening act on tour. Only one thing would get in the way of that: Alexander O'Neal. O'Neal was supposed to be the lead singer of the group that Prince wanted to hire. However, one meeting changed all that. We just did a video talking about Prince firing somebody, so we know that's not unusual for him. But why exactly did he fire Alexander O'Neal? Let's get into it. But first, a little back history. Alexander O'Neal was born in Natchez, Mississippi. As an adult, O'Neal moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, with hopes of getting a record deal. While singing with various local groups, O'Neal caught the eye of Terry Lewis. Lewis was in a band called Flight Time with Jimmy Jam, and Lewis asked O'Neal to join the group. O'Neal accepted. Sometime later, Lewis was asked by Prince to be his bass player, to which Lewis agreed. About a month later, Morris Day asked Terry to be his bass player in a band he was putting together. He told Morris he'd already agreed to do the same gig with Prince. Morris asked him which one he'd rather do. Terry was more friendly with Morris, so he chose that gig instead. Along with Terry, at Morris Day's urging, he brought Alexander O'Neal with him, who would serve as the group's lead singer. This is how O'Neal would get to cross paths with Prince. Lewis also got Jimmy Jam to stay with the band to play the keyboards. This group had a meeting with Prince, who was looking to hire them as his opening act for his tour. By this time, Prince was already known in the music business. He had several albums under his belt, and he had a deal with his Warner Brothers label that allowed him to recruit and develop other artists. This is where the group that was calling itself Flight Time would come into play. This is also where the infamous Alexander O'Neal meeting we touched on in our Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis video took place. This is the general consensus of those in the meeting of how things went down during that meeting. O'Neal had a lot to say, and he wasn't shy about expressing what he wanted. At the top of his wish list was a lot of paper, as O'Neal liked to call money. He also went into detail about what he needed that paper for, such as a new house, a new car, a swimming pool, etc. To sum it up, O'Neal messed up the gig for himself by questioning Prince a little too close and too much for Prince's liking. Having said that, we all know there's two sides to every story. This is what Alexander had to say about the meeting. According to O'Neal, here's one of the comments that Prince said to him. Quote, "Here's the bottom line. I'm Prince. You have 100% of nothing. I'm offering you 50% of something. So I don't have to discuss any terms or anything. You just do what I say you do, and you're going to be okay." Unquote. We could totally see Prince saying something like that. How did O'Neal feel about what Prince said? Quote, "Guess what? I'm not the following kind of guy. I'm not the do what you say I do kind of guy. You need another type of guy for that, so I couldn't do that." Unquote. Alexander also says he had questions for Prince about Jelly Bean Johnson. Prince wanted to hire the group, but not their drummer, Gary Jelly Bean Johnson. O'Neal says, quote, "I started asking questions about Jelly Bean. He was going to hire all the band except him. I said, what about Jelly Bean? At this point, Morris Day was going to be the drummer." Unquote. Very shortly, Morris, of course, ended up being the frontman / lead singer of the group. O'Neal then revealed even more of Prince's petty side, saying, quote, "So when Prince fired me, he said, 'I'll tell you what, you're concerned about Jelly Bean, right? How about we keep him?' That's nasty thinking, right?" O'Neal quoted Prince as saying, "Since you're such a smart ass, Mr. O'Neal, how about we get rid of you, put Morris up front where you were going to be. Then we'll hire the band from right up under you. Take your band. Now Jelly Bean's in and you're out. Are you happy about that? Unquote. O'Neal says of Prince's comments, that was very painful. Alexander speculated that Prince didn't want him in the group because he was uncontrollable. He even played the race card on Prince, saying that he heard rumors that Prince thought O'Neal was too black. O'Neal went a step further and said that Prince was black when it was convenient for him, but that he, meaning himself, had to be black and love it all the time. O'Neal summed up his experience with Prince this way: "I was kicked out of the group before I was kicked in." He also admits he was very angry with Prince after being kicked out of the group, but he also says that Prince inspired him to really make it after he fired him. O'Neal knew how to play the game. He didn't badmouth Prince or any of his ex-band members. They were all still based in Minneapolis. So O'Neal decided to stick to a saying that they all used on the local music scene: if you can't say something good about somebody, don't say anything at all. He stayed quiet and focused on his craft. This would serve him well, as he would later be propelled towards stardom by his former bandmates, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Where were they coming from when they reconnected with O'Neal? They had recently been fired by Prince. Listeners of our videos already know the story of how that firing went down, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. We hope you enjoyed this dive into why Prince fired Alexander O'Neal. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and be sure to come back and check out more videos. See you soon.